I'll never forget the day. I'll never forget the time. Lisa and I were out. The assassination attempt was broadcast, and within minutes, our investigation began and has continued through today. Like you, we have many questions remaining, many open-ended questions, but now, new developments in the case. Congressman Clay Higgins has released his preliminary report. You've seen some of it, I'm sure, in some mainstream headlines. This House Bipartisan Task Force on the attempted assassination of former President Donald J. Trump is who he reports this back to Chairman Mike Kelly, to be more specific. And to me, it boils down to two things in this report that we're going to cover for you. This being one of the most shocking. A cleanup crew was sent in. All evidence, which would normally not be tampered with, is suddenly tampered with. And on top of that, we have a missing body. And that's the story we're going to bring you here in just 1 minute. Now, before we get started, Lisa wanted me to ask you of something of the utmost importance to her. Many, many years ago, in the thralls of COVID, Lisa came to me and said, I want to design our own platform, one that we control, to bring the news to my audience and your audience in a way never done before. Topics covered nowhere else but exclusively at Restricted Republic. This took a lot of time, a lot of money. Trust me, between the two of us, a few arguments, but we got it done. And that platform has continued to grow and accelerate because people now know what news was meant to be, referenced and researched, not just talking heads. And so she asked me to remind you today, out of the most important thing that she has requested, she needs you there. There's many reasons for that. She's going to give you discount code Independence. That's $4 a month for 2 years. You can cancel anytime. You have your own dashboard to do that. 14 days for free to check it out. I won't go into all the details as to why it is so critical right now, but trust me, with what's happening in the background, it is and made me your last place to get all the news that matters. We need you there today if you want to support Lisa. If you'd like to support me, we need to see you over there. And we need that done today. And we'll share a little bit more details once you're over at the platform. Also, if you haven't subscribed to Lisa's channel, make sure you do. She'll put a link to mine above. But without further ado, let's kick into this very important broadcast. So we're going to start here, but we're not going to spend a lot of time here today because we're going to jump right into the facts. It's what Lisa and I work very hard to do. Stay with the facts. The report issued August 12th. House Bipartisan Task Force on the attempted assassination of former President Donald J. Trump reported to Chairman Mike Kelly by Congressman Clay Higgins. He focused about 20 hours at the site. He gives you the dates he was there from Sunday, August 4th, leaving the area on Tuesday, August 6th. Congressman Clay Higgins has a police background, if you don't know. He is very heavily involved with the events surrounding J6, the analysis of what happened. Of course, like all these investigations, they seem to result in nothing, but I'm more concerned about the facts that I want to understand rather than expecting anybody in Washington to do anything. Someday, maybe, we will find a way to take appropriate action, because what you're going to find here is a level of incompetence, something that exceeds incompetence. I think we've covered this time and time again, and if you followed us on these platforms or if you follow us at Restricted Republic, you know how deeply we have gone into this with every single development, and I will continue to. I will not release this story. I will not release from this story ever. It's too important. It could have altered the course of history. In my opinion, it already has, because of what it has exposed. So much more to do with this. Especially if you watch what's happening with the pipe bomb and the new developments surrounding J6, you're starting to see a same narrative over and over and over again. I think we need to reterm the FBI. I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. He was accompanied and assisted by a retired SWAT operator, John Chawton, his Congressional district directors, worked with him for a long time. Butler County assisted him. The ESU commander, Edward Lenz, and Butler County District Attorney's Office Senior Detective William Mayhew, and the Butler County Emergency Services Unit, and is well established, well equipped. We know they did a good job. Clay Higgins says they did a good job. However, it wasn't their job to stop this now, was it? And I'll leave a link. Lisa will leave a link in her description box below. You can also go to Restricted Republic, or if you're watching the video here, then you'll automatically have a link to this, so you can read it for yourself. He goes on and on about how Edward Lenz was ultimately completely cooperative with him. The local police has been, because they have maintained that this was not their failure, and you're going to find out why they continue to say that time and time again. Edward Lenz worked for a couple weeks prior to J13 to coordinate the entire Butler County law enforcement support for the United States Secret Service, as requested by the United States Secret Service, and ultimately under the command of the United States Secret Service, as that commander related to deployment and areas of responsibility. He says here, for clarification's sake, this is just to promote discussion. Clay Higgins is always very careful about that. He visits the site. He is also very clear, just to give you a little background so we can move a little faster through this, that he has not yet investigated Thomas Crooks' motive nor his family. He stayed away from that. That is the next level of the investigation. He wanted to visit the site first, in particular the AGR building. AGR International is an internationally owned company, born of a glass research scientist in Butler in 1927. One of the men who assisted in this investigation, William Bellis, stayed with him at the AGR building for several hours. He was 100% cooperative. According to my investigation, he starts. This is where it gets good now. The United States Secret Service had never, prior to J13, the assassination attempt on Donald J. Trump, assisted or assigned a counter-sniper team to a former president. Never before were counter-snipers assigned until this event. Was this because of the Iranian threat? Or do you get a question mark in your mind? I get a question mark in my mind, and you will more as we get through this report. I will not be 100% certain of this assertion, he states, without further investigation into documented records, but United States Secret Service counter-sniper team stated clearly to the ESU commander that they had never been deployed to a former POTUS event before, President of the United States. Nor had they heard of a prior deployment by other United States Secret Service counter-sniper teams. Never before have snipers been assigned to a former president's event until this event. Butler County runs the radio communication towers out of their 911 call center. This is critical, folks. That's pretty much the radio communication, the way it works across the entire country. If their radios are interoperable, a visiting law enforcement agency is assigned a frequency, a channel. That would be the United States Secret Service. But the United States Secret Service did not retrieve their radios. Those radios would have been recorded because local law enforcement, everything they said was recorded. But the United States Secret Service, well, they didn't retrieve their radios that had been set aside for them by Butler County Tactical Command. The radio comms were properly and perfectly arranged during the extensive pre-mission planning. On J12, the Butler County ESU commander personally reminded the United States Secret Service, the counter-sniper teams, to pick up their assigned radios at the ESU command post, which was positioned according to planning at the Butler Fairgrounds. The following morning, before 1100 hours, it didn't happen. Radio traffic transmitted through a county radio call 911 center is recorded. And the United States Secret Service decided not to pick up those radios. So, in essence, no communications could be recorded. I know. Hopefully that's question mark in your mind number 2. There are videos circulating on the internet about a muzzle flash inside the AGR building. Higgins dismisses that. He went into the building. The window allegedly where the blast or muzzle blast was, doesn't open and has never opened. That is his conclusion. He concludes what we concluded, that Crooks did not have a ladder at AGR. And as we stated very early on, he climbed on an air conditioning unit. Higgins does the same thing. No problem getting on the rooftop at all. Surprise, surprise. You see Luna's post about Crooks walking up with what appears to be a gun, jumping on an air conditioner unit, positioning himself on the roof. I'm going to play something for you in a second here while we conclude that I want you to watch. And it's a real timed event, side-by-side split screen of how long the Secret Service could have stopped this. It is dumbfounding to watch. We'll do that at the conclusion of this broadcast. 8 shots were fired by Crooks, which we have concluded also, from his firing and dying position on the AGR rooftop. The position provided excellent concealment for Crooks from the Northern Counter Sniper Team. Crooks, who allegedly has not a lot of training, allegedly, knew the perfect position to take to protect himself from the snipers. Lucky? I don't believe in luck. The position provided excellent concealment for Crooks from the Northern Counter Sniper Team due to the foliage and branches of 2 trees. Crooks' firing position did not offer excellent concealment from the Southern Counter Sniper Team. However, it should be noted that the would-be assassin perfectly positioned himself to minimize the threat of counter fire from the ground, or the United States Secret Service Counter Sniper Teams perfectly positioned himself so no one from the ground could shoot at him, nor could the United States Secret Service Counter Sniper Teams easily fire upon him. Perfectly positioned himself. Third question mark. Crooks' firing position was also several feet back from the actual peak of the AGR rooftop. By choosing that position, Crooks effectively minimized the skyline profile of his head and upper body, not allowing for an easy, clean shot. All 8 casings were recovered and are allegedly in the proper possession of the FBI. There's a big reason he says allegedly, because I would say allegedly also, because you see what the FBI does moving forward here. The 9th shot that was fired on J13 was from the Butler SWAT operator. We now come to find out that he actually struck Crooks' rifle stock with that bullet, effectively, according to Higgins, making the rifle useless. The SWAT operator who took the shot was a total badass. When he had sighted the shooter, Crooks, as a mostly obscured by foliage moving target on the AGR rooftop, he immediately left his assigned post, ran towards the threat, running to a clear shot position directly in the line of fire. While Crooks was firing his 8 rounds on his own, this ESU SWAT operator took a very hard shot, 1 shot. He stopped Crooks, and importantly, I believe the shot damaged the buffer tube on Crooks' AR. I won't be certain of this until he can examine the rifle, but I'm 99% sure, based on reliable eyewitness ESU tactical officers. You notice it's only ESU who's providing any intel. Only the ESU officers who observed Crooks' rifle before the FBI harvested it as evidence. That means that if the AR buffer tube was damaged, Crooks' rifle wouldn't fire after his 8th shot. Crooks went down from his firing position when the 9th shot was fired by the SWAT officer. He was certain of the hit. Crooks recovered after a few seconds and popped back up. At that point in time, the 10th shot is taken. From the Southern Counter Sniper Team, I'm quite sure the United States Secret Service Southern Counter Sniper Team fired the kill shot, which, according to my investigation, entered somewhere around the left mouth area and exited the right ear area. Instant over. This entry-exit aligns with the United States Secret Service Southern Counter Sniper position. He puts a pin in that. He's a 10-shot believer. He's going to go a little bit deeper into the water tower here. The FBI released all... I know. I still shudder when I read some of this. The FBI released all first responders that evening, much to everyone's surprise. Fourth question mark. All first responders can go home. The FBI released the crime scene just after 3 days. Fifth question mark. Much to everyone's surprise. I interviewed several first responders who expressed everything from surprise to dismay to suspicion regarding the fact that the FBI released the crime scene so early after J13, just 3 days after. It should be noted that the FBI was fully aware that Congress would be investigating this. The FBI does not exist in a vacuum. They had to know prior to releasing the crime scene that they would be injuring the immediate observations of any following investigation. By releasing the crime scene, they ultimately prevented any follow-up investigations from being able to have any real observations. How many is that now? Is that 5? The FBI cleaned up biological evidence from the crime scene, which is unheard of. Cops don't ever do that. I think we started with, let me find that picture again for you. That picture. They cleaned the biological evidence. 6 question mark. How does this organization even exist? It goes on. He goes to find Crook's body. On Monday, August 5th, it caused quite a stir, it certainly did, and revealed a disturbing fact. That would be an understatement. The FBI released the body for cremation 10 days after J13. On J23, Crooks was gone. 7, if you're keeping count, if you're keeping score. Nobody knew this until Monday, August 5th, including the county coroner, law enforcement, or the sheriff. No one knew it until Higgins showed up to ask to examine the body. I'll give that a big number 8. Another chain of custody? That body was the custody of Butler County, not of the FBI. He spoke to the coroner, and he said he would never have released Crook's body to the family for cremation or burial without specific permission from the FBI, because he's the one who had legal authority. They cremated the body. Go ahead. What's the score now? 9? The coroner's report and autopsy report are both late. Surprise, surprise. As of Monday, August 5th, remember, when they went to the crime scene, the family home, it was scrubbed clean, sterilized, no garbage, no trash. Some declaring that would make sure there was no DNA. Just putting it out there. As of Monday, August 5th, they were a week late. The problem with not being able to examine the actual body is that we will never know 100% if the coroner's report and the autopsy report are accurate, because there won't be a body to compare it against. That's 10. Please note, Mr. Chairman, that on J23, the day that Crooks was cremated, both the Homeland Security Committee and Oversight Committee had begun House Committee jurisdictional investigation into J13, and Speaker Johnson had already stated that he would be forming an official congressional investigative body. Why then, by what measure, would the FBI release this body to the family or cremation? The pattern of investigation, scorched earth by the FBI, is quite troubling. Scorched earth by the FBI, who I don't even think we should term that, according to this report, because it was a cleanup crew. Disturbing. We come to find out the water tower was cleared. It was cleared by the ESU commander himself, Lentz, who did drone clear it prior to the event. The water tower ladder was never lowered that day. 2 local cops were assigned to it. They did leave the post, but only in 1 hour prior to the shooting. Records show the ladder was not ever sent down. There are videos in the internet showing a dark figure If there had been someone on the water tower in J13, it would have been some top shelf operator way beyond anything I've ever actually seen, because the climb is dangerous. He wanted to climb it. They wouldn't allow him to. I know that will raise some questions, but that is not the questions that you should focus on right now. We have enough questions already on this, 10 and counting. Clay Higgins does not believe it was possible for a second shooter, sniper, to be on top of that water tower in J13, nor have I seen any evidence that supports the theory of a second shooter. And trust me, Clay Higgins digs into everything that could be viewed as suspect. Everything. If you watched him during his J6 investigations and the white buses, you would understand that. I've watched him in great detail. How many open questions is that? I ask you. I'm going to play this in the background while we're moving forward here. Just kill that volume. I want you to see how much time as we conclude here, and you can just watch it. It will continue to tick away in the background. How much time this split screen shows they had to eliminate the threat. Clay Higgins shows up at the scene, dismisses some of the theories out there, finds 8 shots fired, 2 additional shots taken by a SWAT team and Secret Service snipers, finding radios were never collected, so interoperable communications could not be recorded. We know how much time they had to eliminate this threat, how many warnings prior to Trump's assassination attempt. We know now they cremated the body. We know now they scrubbed biological evidence off the roof. They released the crime scene early, knowing an investigation was going to be underway, already announced. They released the crime scene. They released first responders, and everybody's supposed to sit back and just question, this is normal. There is nothing normal here. And we're going to get more from Clay Higgins. I can't wait to cover it. Well, look at the timing, by the way. 1 minute, 23 seconds right now. Nobody did anything. They stood back. It could have concluded a lot worse. But now the question is, well, how many questions are there? 10 so far. 1 minute, 54 seconds. Trump never taken off the stage. Sniper lines up. 2 minutes. He gets hit. 2 minutes and 3 seconds to be exact. They had timing to react. So much time that the local SWAT officer was able to entirely change his position. A moment in history that we should never, ever let go, and we won't let it go. We will continue to bring you every development. We love you all. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justice Knight, signing out.